Hello everyone, this is Pal Ponder on Weather coming at you with another video. In this update, we're going to be talking about the overall pattern between now through Christmas Day. So if you do like weather related content, please subscribe to my channel as I will upload about 5 videos a week to keep you updated. All right, so let's get started. So here is a big component. We've been talking about this winter storm over the last couple days, and a big component of that was the severe weather aspect of it. When I looked at the latest high resolution models yesterday, when I updated, and I saw those supercells being kind of pulled away from each other and kind of separate, I know that was not a good sign. And we turned out to have 27 tornadoes yesterday, and we tacked out another 10 this morning to be at 37 tornadoes now. I think there was like 82 tornado warnings. There was one of them on the ground for like 63 miles. So the National Weather Service will be out doing all their surveys today and kind of doing storm damage. But unfortunately, 3 people lost their lives. And it's still going on this morning with tornadoes happening right now in the Florida Panhandle and in the South and Southeast. But if we take a look at the actual temperatures this morning, as far as the low temperatures, we see 70% of the country was below freezing. So we've had that cold air. We finally had that cold front swing through. I know we were 72 in Dallas the other day, and yesterday the high was only 44 degrees. And this morning we did touch the freezing mark. I think the low was like 30. But you can see that colder air filtering all the way down to the deep south with widespread 20s and much of the country. And where we had that winter storm event taking place, we had that ice setup in Pennsylvania through Connecticut and Massachusetts. I know it finally started snowing in Boston, so it's snowing right now. So as this kind of swings up through New Hampshire and Vermont and through Maine, it'll tack on more snow, today and through tomorrow. But if we take a look at the overall temperatures tomorrow, we still about 70% of the country is still going to be below freezing as that colder, drier Arctic air filters further south into the deep south, and even 22 in the latest NAM model. A lot of times I look at these on a short-term basis because it can pick up that colder, shallow air. I know no model was showing high of 44 yesterday in Dallas. So I mean, then even the 4 o'clock temperature was 38. So that high was earlier on in the morning. But you can see the colder air filtering all the way down to the deep south and widespread 20s for much of the country. And where they're seeing that snowpack, it's dipping down a little lower and even below zero in parts of Minnesota, and widespread 20s up in New England. If we take it out another frame on Thursday, that's when we got more Arctic air filtering in. This filters all the way down to the deep south and the southeast, where we got freezing temperatures all the way to the coast, all the way to the Virginia beach. So these 20s will be hitting all the way to the coastline, and we've got a small piece of Arctic air that's going to be affecting the Northeast. So, like I said, anything that does fall or has fallen is probably not going to melt. But then we have Arctic air filtering in, with widespread teens in Pennsylvania, and even some negative digits up in New York, through Vermont and Maine. So all these New England states will be really chilly coming up on Thursday morning. If we take it out another frame on Friday, again, we kind of start to see that transition where we see some modification from the deep south, where we got those little warmer pockets starting to filter back in. And as the air somewhat modifies, but still about 50 to 60% of the country below freezing, and this Arctic air still entrenches much of the Northeast, especially seeing that snowpack on the ground, and where they're going to get that lake effect snow up through here in Syracuse and Buffalo, that those temperatures are going to be even colder because they're seeing that actually, snow on the ground. If we take it out to this system on what I kind of hinted at, that there was a system that next weekend for the New England, it's not as impressive now. There's there Arctic air filtering in, and I don't think there's gonna be much left. We've had a lot of moisture in the air. Arctic air is the driest air there is. And so, yes, the temperatures will be below freezing still by Sunday morning, but I'm not sure how much moisture is still going to be left in the atmosphere because a lot of the layers in the atmosphere are going to be dry. So, by the time that system comes down, it's just a quick little system. I don't know how much moisture it's going to have to work with, and it's seeing this snow on the ground. And a lot of times, if there is snow on the ground, it can actually feed off that and tap into that some of that moisture and help it snow itself. So maybe that's what they're seeing here, but I'm not really expecting too much from this event. So if we expand the view, so let's look at the Southern Oscillation Index, and I kind of looked at this as kind of a longer term play because when this first told the signal, when this thing went negative back in the middle of November, had that system coming up the East Coast, and then it went positive. So we knew the Pacific Jet was going to be activated, and it's always a 2 week lag. So and now what's grabbing my attention, we've been kind of modifying. Again, we go into a 2 week lag. So if we've been positive the last 2 weeks, the next 2 weeks are going to be somewhat drier than normal. And we're going to go into a warmer phase. And I'll go over the MJO in a little bit. But taking a step further, the Southern Oscillation Index has gone negative for 4 days in a row, a double digit negative. So this could be leading down the pike towards the end of the year, leading into the early part of January, because this is always a 2 week lag indicator. If we take a look at the MJO, so December was really complicated to figure out and how it's going to play out, but the MJO cycles through every 30 to 60 days around the world. And you can look at some of the warmer phases and some of the colder phases. And November, we were in some of the colder phases of 8, 1, and 2, and we were well below normal for the United States. And so as December hit, it started tapping into phase 2, which is typically a little kind of to make the transition into a warmer phase. But now it's going into phase 3, which is a warmer phase. And so, unfortunately, for all you snow lovers for Christmas, this is going into the warmest phases going into Christmas week. So it's got to happen eventually. So the timing just happened to be Christmas. So I know a lot of guys want a white Christmas, but unfortunately, that's just not going to happen for much of the country because this is going into the warmest phases. But look, it's not really going to stay around technically that long. I mean, it goes from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6, and eventually swing into phase 7 is a colder phase, and this is by the end of the year. So as this swings to a colder phase, there are signs that it's going to be a lot colder starting in January. And if we take a look at, say, for the same example, Dallas Fort Worth, I mean, it's not going to be that bad. We're averaging about 3 degrees above normal right now for December. We were like 7 degrees below normal in November. So the average high is 56. The average low is 37. So even for the next 4 or 5 days, we're still going to be below normal or to normal. But as we creep up into Christmas week, on the 22nd, we've got that ridge building extending through the heart of the central United States, and it builds building temperatures, 10, at times 15 degrees above average, and unfortunately, essentially peaking in the heart of the country on Christmas Day. So I know Chicago has a high of an average high of 34. They're expecting about 49. So again, about 15 degrees above normal. So there'll be a huge chunk of the country that's 10 to 15 degrees above average for Christmas Day. If we take a look at the overall snow map of what's actually transpired since for this season from October 1st through December 17th. And so it's a pretty good snowfall. I mean, much of the country, has seen a fairly good snow amounts. We've got, double digit snow amounts and in places that normally would see snow. So it hasn't been that far out of line. If we look at typically the places that we see the first snowfall from NOAA, that a lot of the places that you saw that have received the snowfall have has normally typically gets the snowfall, but a lot of the deep south and Tennessee and Arkansas and Dallas and Atlanta and North Carolina, where you typically don't see snowfall this early on in winter, hasn't seen any snowfall. So it's not like it's been that out of the ordinary. So in fact, it's probably been slightly above average what it normally transpires this early on. We're only 2.5 weeks into winter. So if we take a look at what the probability is of a white Christmas historically, and typically there's only about 50% of you guys that typically get a white Christmas. You can see from the deep south when this light brown color is less than 10%. So yes, there are some anomalies. Like in 2012, we had a white Christmas in Dallas, but everybody remembers that one year it happened in the deep south. But historically, the probability of that happening is not very good. So, but I know like in Duluth, for example, it's 92% they'll get a white Christmas. Um, so you can kind of see the areas that typically get a white Christmas and areas that typically don't. So, but as we extend into Christmas week, I know Noah updated yesterday, seeing those warmer phases crossing over into Christmas week into the heart of the country where we're going to be getting 10 to 15 degrees above average. But as we saw from the NJO, as this swings across and as this goes into later, the back half of December into January, we see this trough digging in out west, and this will swing again, propagate. So this is only about a 4 or 5 6 day event, but you can see the colder air building in Alaska, and so typically when Alaska's cold, we're warm. When Alaska's warm, we're cold. And I know on Christmas Day, I was kind of looking at some of the longer term features. Siberia was going to be like 58 below zero on Christmas Day, but Australia, we're going to be starting that massive heat wave, 115 degrees, so like 173-degree swing. And of course, it's the middle of summer in Australia, but there are signs with this cold Arctic air building in Siberia that there's a piece of the polar vortex. It's going to be a reflective event. So it's a minor disruption around the end of December and the first part of January. And as you saw, the colder phases are leading into 7, 8, and 1 into January. We could be setting up for a pretty cold early part of January. So that's just kind of some of the things I'm kind of looking at for the longer term, and how Christmas week is going to play out for a lot of you guys. So I appreciate you guys tuning in, and be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and definitely share with your friends on social media, and catch me in the next video where I protect you before and after the storm.